fuck? Yeah! Yeah!
What the hell?
I told you, man.
Oh my god.
What the fuck, dude?
It is the SuperClash podcast, a podcast about shorter games. It is episode 72. I am Kale.
I'm Connor.
And we just got off looking at official tweets from dead companies and other companies not so dead. And I'm just so confused about the world right now.
Brand Twitter needs to be put out of its misery.
We looked up Radio Shack. We looked up Blockbuster.
Radio Shack's a freaking crypto. I don't even know what you want to call them.
They're crypto scam. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Most cryptos, I believe, are scams.
Yeah, I don't like these crypto accounts. You're basing your entire personality around a fake currency. Cool.
Yeah, in hopes that it makes it big.
Yeah, it's just dorky.
Which it's not going to.
It's
I'm
dorky
sorry.
as hell, man.
But how was your week, Connor?
Not too bad, I guess.
Other than absolute stress at work that you mentioned in the group text?
Yeah, next week's gonna be worse.
Oh, man.
I counted just one day alone. I have 8 meetings. I have a 1 hour block for lunch where I'm not in meetings, and the rest is just meetings. And it's they're gonna come to me the next day and be like, "So what's your progress on stuff?" And I'll be like, "None." Because I was in meetings all day. How am I supposed to get anything done?
Fuck, man. My week was okay for the most part. Just kind of bad mental health, which is why I'm getting back into therapy. Hopefully it'll help with
Speech therapy, right?
it is needed, yes. And just hopefully actual therapy will help me be able to get my thoughts down and maybe even help me speak better, but also just help me just be happier. I did take some form of therapy a while back off an app that was provided in my insurance, but it wasn't really therapy. It was more just coaching, which I think are two different things. This coaching just basically gave me tools how to get into the routine that I am in now, but it didn't really help my mental health. And that's what I'm kind of searching for right now, which I am very, very, very lucky that my work offers health insurance and that my health insurance covers mental health and behavioral health. So I'm kind of hoping to find something soon, but I haven't gotten anything back from the place I contacted. I'm hoping by tomorrow, because they're open on Saturday, I'll get something back from them.
Nice.
Which is only around the corner, from my house, which is nice.
Oh, okay.
I could walk there if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's not
and
too
then
bad.
get hit by a car and...
Well, that might be a blessing depending on the day.
Well, if I die, my wife gets my life insurance policy.
And if you don't, you sue the driver who hit you.
And then I can never work again.
Exactly. You'd be a cripple, but you would be a wealthy cripple.
Bro, I'm already a cripple with my ankle.
That's true. That's true.
I've been chronic pain on my ankle for God knows how long.
Get yourself on some disability, my dude.
Disability and play video games. I'll be the one thing Republicans hate.
Become a fat little shit.
Yeah. But I really got nothing going on other than the game that we're talking about. That's right.
Oh. I'm sorry. I was feeling your energy.
It's
building
good.
off of it.
I finished The Dangers of My Heart, the manga.
Oh, okay.
Volume 4. I think the 5th volume comes out in either November or December, but oh my god. You bought the first volume, didn't you?
Yeah, I just haven't started it yet. I almost did the other night.
I would recommend it because it gets really, really sweet. Probably around the second or third manga is when the main character starts coming to terms with how he feels about the main girl.
Okay.
And it's so sweet, and I cannot wait for the anime next year.
Okay.
Just I can't wait for Kubo's anime next year, which I'm going to start the 3rd volume this weekend.
Kubo's good. Also, I've been reading Rent a Girlfriend, which is now past the anime, and they decide to introduce another girl.
No way, really?
Yes. Without like saying anything about this character, let's just say there's been a next door neighbor who's been listening in the whole time,
What?
and she knows some things.
She knows everything.
Oh well, there's been some hallway arguments with Ruka and with Chizuru, and
Yeah.
you kind of think that like, they have been yelling outside an apartment for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a new girl.
Oh man, see now I gotta read the manga.
It's good. It's really
Damn.
good.
So I'll get around to it eventually. I need to read Kubo, Won't Let Me Be Invisible Volume 3. I want to start the Megumin spinoff of Konosuba before that anime comes out.
Yeah. Oh god, what was the other one that I'm a little bit further on? Oh, Nagatoro. I'm finished the most recent volume of Nagatoro.
I remember. Is that it on the shelf? The volume 12.
Yes, and it's getting a little cuter actually.
Good.
The characters go on a date.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Aw.
And let's just say two different groups try to either one's trying to intervene on the date and one is trying to prevent the intervention, and they both get
Interesting.
caught.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh man. This is a video game podcast, people.
Maybe.
We promise.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
But who knows? Just keep an eye out for the future. Connor and I do have some manga and anime related plans
Yeah.
in the near future. Just a little
Wink, wink.
nudge, nudge, allude.
Exactly.
But tonight, though, however, we're playing a game called Maid of Sker. I actually looked it up. It's pronounced scare, which kind of adds a little bit of cool context to the genre of the game.
Interesting.
But before we get into that, Connor, you know what time it is.
Let's get physical. Okay. Righty.
Yeah, let's get physical.
Let's get physical. So the first game to talk about is A Plague Tale Requiem. It's $60 on PS5 and Series X. Far across the sea, an island calls. Embark on a heart-rending journey into a brutal, breathtaking world twisted by supernatural forces. After escaping their devastated homeland, Amicia and Hugo travel far south to new regions and vibrant cities. There, they attempt to start a new life and control Hugo's curse. But when Hugo's powers reawaken, death and destruction return in a flood of devouring rats. Forced to flee once more, the siblings place their hopes in a prophesized island that may hold the key to saving Hugo. Discover the cost of saving those you love in a desperate struggle for survival. Strike from the shadows or unleash hell, overcoming foes and challenges with a variety of weapons, tools, and unearthly powers. The physical version includes the Protector Pack DLC. Releases October 18th.
A Plague Tale was on my radar for the spooky season, but I think I recall you playing it at one point.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good.
I want to say either the first or second game was a free game for PlayStation at one point.
Well, it would have to be the first since the second one's not out yet.
Oh, so this second one, it's getting a physical release day one.
Yes.
Okay. For some reason I had it in my head that it was already released. It was already and just a physical copy is being released, kind of like how a lot of these LGP games that we talk about were digitally available first and then converted into a physical game.
Yeah, I will say the first one launched on like PS4 and Xbox One, but it did get a Series X and PS5 upgrade, so that might be why.
Yeah, makes sense.
But the next game is one that I may have already announced once before on a previous Let's Get Physical, but I think it got pushed last second. And so Fight Crab Shella Awesome Edition is $28 only on Switch. It might be a GameStop exclusive because I've only seen it there. It says Fight Crab is an over-the-top physics-based 3D action battle game that combines giant crustaceans, insane weaponry, and intense claw-to-claw combat into one absurdly hilarious must-play game. You are a crab. Embark on a world tour of devastation, flipping over as many crabs as possible in a quest to be crowned Lord of the Crustaceans. Progress through the game to unlock new playable crabs, learn powerful skills, and amass an arsenal of deadly weapons like the whip sword, nunchaku, axe gun, chainsaw, and beam saber. Everything needed to crush the living shell out of the opposition. Crabs can be visually customized and leveled up to create the perfect build, suitable for any playstyle. This includes the digital soundtrack, an art card, and a sticker sheet, and it releases October 18th.
I am so on board for this game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you and I love Gang Beasts. We love playing Gang Beasts with our friends and our wives. We always have a good time playing that game. And Fight Crab is one of those games that's like right up our alley. I can see us just hours and hours having fun with this game. And so the physical is only available for Switch?
I think so, yeah.
Interesting. I'm kind of, because I think it was a PC game first, and then
I think it got ported to Switch, and then, yeah.
So is it not available on Xbox or PlayStation?
It might be, but like as far as physicals go, the only one I found was for the Switch.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, cool. I'm in.
Yeah, man. The next one is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. It is $60. Mario and Rabbids team up again in a new adventure. Show off your inner hero as you build your dream team to take down enemies and save your Spark friends in this strategy adventure video game. Team up with Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Rabbid Luigi, and their friends on a galactic journey to defeat a malevolent entity and save your Spark companions. Explore planets throughout the galaxy as you uncover mysterious secrets and compelling quests. Pre-order Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope and get the Megabug Collection weapon skins. A gold edition is also available for $90 and includes the Season Pass and 3 exclusive weapon skins. Pre-order Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the gold edition at GameStop, and you'll receive an exclusive Steelbook. And this releases October 20th.
Nice.
The next one is Harmonia. Approximately $47. It's only on Switch, and it's a Japan exclusive, but you can get it at places like Video Games Plus. This is a story from a very, very distant era. The world has suffered from a great war. The contaminated atmosphere is turning ash gray. Life on Earth almost came to a stop, and water started vanishing. The world population has declined remarkably compared to the Golden Age. The people joined together to live in this world. It was in these times that a Thyroid, a robot that can feel, woke up in a decayed facility. The fruit of science before the war, a humanoid feeling robot. They were promised a new partner, one that could make their life easier. However, the awakened Thyroid, it sounds like I'm saying thyroid.
I thought you said thyroid the first time, too.
No, it's Thyroid with PH.
Interesting.
Finds out very quickly that he is emotionless. Perhaps he was not finished during the manufacturing process, since his right hand is not covered with artificial skin, his mechanical parts visible. The Thyroid wants to get closer to humans. He continued to wander throughout this devastated world looking for the emotions he was missing. One day, a girl takes him in. She thinks of him as human and kindly looks after him. A little but warm town. Releases October 20th.
Cool.
Yeah, man. The next one is Into the Breach. This one is $35. Seems to be only on Switch. Semi-wide release. 'Cause it seems like it's at Best Buy, maybe a few other retailers, but not like Amazon or GameStop. Includes mini guidebook, mini poster, and digital download of the game's music. The remnants of human civilization are threatened by gigantic creatures breeding beneath the earth. You must control powerful mechs from the future to hold off this alien threat. Each attempt to save the world presents a new randomly generated challenge in this turn-based strategy game from the makers of FTL. Releases October 21st.
Cool. Mech game.
Yeah, man. The next one is a Borderlands game.
I think I know what this one is.
Yep. It's New Tales from the Borderlands. It is $50 on Series X, Xbox One, Switch, PS5, and PS4. Decide the fates of the altruistic scientist Anu, her ambitious streetwise brother Octavio, and the fierce Frogurt-slinging Fran. With nothing left to lose and everything to gain, you'll claw and con your way through this thrilling 5-part story. The physical edition also includes the original Tales from the Borderlands game as well. Pre-order New Tales from the Borderlands and receive the Adventure Capital Pack. Releases October 21st.
Nice. I've never played the first Tales from the Borderlands, but I've heard lots of good things about it. It's Telltale. It's
Yeah, and I haven't either. So I mean, this is a good bundle because you get both of them for $50.
yeah,
So
cool.
the last one is River City Girls 2. It's $40, available on Switch, PS5, and Series X, and it's a limited run games exclusive. When an old foe returns for revenge, Misako, Kyoko, Kunio, and Riki, joined by newcomers Marion and Provi, hit the streets for an all-new beat-em-up adventure packed with new abilities, enemies, allies, locations, and more. A classic edition is available for $65 and includes a retro box, 2-disc soundtrack, and poster. An ultimate edition is also available for $100 and includes everything above plus a digital copy of the game, collector's box, Polaroid, sticker pack, plush, keychain, press pass, coupon, and enamel pin. Pre-orders on that one end October 23rd.
Nice. Cool. Some good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably excited for Plague Tale and obviously Fight Crab, but
Oh yeah, it's about to get clawful up in there.
oh man. Don't you have Fight Crab, or was that something that we thought about getting at one point?
We wanted to get it back when it was originally supposed to launch. I went up to GameStop to get it on release day, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't have that." And then he looked in the system and was like, "Oh, it's not coming out till October." I was like, "Well, that's weird because it said a release date of way back whenever it was." And he's like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe it got delayed." So yeah, I want it, but
Maybe the release date was like when it was released digitally, and like maybe you could like buy a digital code at GameStop or something. Who knows?
Don't know.
But it's GameStop has got, that's a different conversation. But
Yeah.
but again tonight, so we'll be discussing tonight to continue the spooky season. We'll be talking about a horror game called Maid of Sker. This is developed by. Oh, hold on, I gotta get my notes. Shit. Give me a second.
Wales Interactive.
Thank you. Wales Interactive, and released in 2020. You can generally beat this in about 4 hours, and you can get this for Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. The game is set in 1898 at the Sker Hotel on an imaginary island called Sker Island. The protagonist, Thomas Evans, is invited by his lover, Elizabeth Williams, to uncover the mysteries of the hotel after she notices her family's strange behavior. While exploring the hotel, Thomas learns cult followers called the Quiet Ones control the place. So this game, both on the box and in the advertisements, says that this is the story is inspired by Welsh and British folklore, which is a really good attention grabber, because we don't really hear much about Welsh folklore. Like, you look at God of War. God of War was all about Greek mythology, and now it's Norse mythology, or it's one of these ancient things from like East Asian stuff. It's very rare that you hear about like Welsh or British.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I decided, as I was playing this game, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, to kind of look into where they got this inspiration. For one, I thought it was really interesting that Sker is a real place, the Sker House in Wales. And it is supposed to be haunted, actually. This is where it gets interesting. We'll get into the game in just a second. I just want to talk about some context here. So, for one, the game seems to be inspired by a Welsh song translated to The Maid of Sker. So we got our title there. Some parallels are made in the game from real life. My research showed that Thomas Evans was likely a real person, and he is the main protagonist in the game.
Yeah.
Just like Elizabeth Williams was most likely a real person.
Okay.
There is a little bit of a discrepancy for this. The song "The Maid of Sker" is written by Thomas Evans, but there's a ghost story in. I said Sker, didn't I? Scare.
That's all right. In the game, I've heard them pronounce it as Sker.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because the ghost story takes place, or the ghost story is about Elizabeth Williams falling in love with a carpenter named Thomas Evans, and her father did not approve. Like Isaac Williams or Isaiah Williams, I think he was prominent in the game as well. And the story goes that he chained her in her room, and she either died of a broken heart or starvation. And if you go into Scare House, legend says that you can hear wails so intense, like cries so intense that it will bring you to your knees.
Were you trying to make a pun there?
No, that was not intentional. But there's a lot of really interesting history behind this, and being able to kind of read about the context of where the game's inspiration came from was really interesting. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there's a song called "The Maid of Sker" or by Thomas Evans, and so there is a little bit of a discrepancy there. Was Thomas Evans a composer or a carpenter? I'm going to go on a limb and maybe guess he was both, because you can play music and be a carpenter during your day job and write music. What was also interesting is that there's a book called The Maid of Sker by R.D. Blackwell. It was written in the 1800s. Surprisingly, very little I found on this story, but I did a little bit of research, and what I can make out is that one of the main points of the story is that something was found at sea. And so, with all this together, you can, you and I can kind of piece together how the story was written, because Thomas Evans, for one, he goes to the Hotel Sker to try to find Elizabeth, and because I can't quite remember why. Like she needed help with something.
She wanted him to write a counter song to the song that she sent him.
Oh, yes, that's right.
She sent it out to 4 total composers, and so there were 4 pieces that were made as counters to the song that she sent.
Yes, which explains one of the objectives of the game. But moving on, though, with that out of the way, the main hook of this game, though, is that the enemies can't see. They have bags over their heads because of this cult that is surrounded with almost this siren-like creature that they found at sea. So with a bag over their head, they're entirely sound-based. Think of almost like the clickers in Last of Us.
Yeah.
But this takes that game mechanic and it goes all the way with it, to where if you're nearby one of these enemies, you have to hold your breath.
Which they didn't really explain super well. So they told you have a hold your breath mechanic, but I didn't know until probably later into the game that you pretty much, the moment you're walking by them, you want to hold your breath. And if you're holding your breath and walking by them, they virtually, you can move around freely, essentially, as long as you can hold your breath. But I thought it was only if they got really close to you that you needed to hold your breath. So there were times where, like, I could see them a ways down the hall, maybe like, I don't know, 15, 20 feet down the hall. And I wasn't holding my breath because, like, they're not close enough. And then suddenly they're, like, alerted to my presence and they come after me. And I'm like, what, really?
That's interesting. I had kind of an issue with that, mostly when it came to when they spotted me. Because I feel like when they spot you, you're basically fucked. Because you can't really get away from them without running, but running makes noise. And you can't really run fast enough to gain distance from them. At least not in my experience.
I found a way to get away from them is when they spot you, hold your breath and move slightly out of the way of where you were.
Interesting. I did not know that.
They'll run to where you are and they'll make a swing at you, or let them run up to you, and as they're winding back and swing at you, like step backwards a little bit.
Interesting.
And they'll swing And when they don't hit anything, they'll go back to their like walk phase.
Interesting. There's also another mechanic in this, along with holding your breath, was if you bump into furniture, it can alert them to your presence.
Or knock over a bottle or something.
Yeah, I never really had this issue.
I didn't have that issue. I did step on some of those bottles where the purple goo comes out or the purple mist comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that happen, and the purple mist hurts you if you breathe it.
Yeah, and there's dusty areas as well.
Yep.
So, like I really do think like these stealth mechanics are really good. And I think you can make an intriguing game with this, but I don't think they were really able to do much with it. Like overall I thought this game was pretty average.
Yeah.
And my guess would be is like it's basically just a one-trick pony. You go into a room, there's one or two guys in that. You maneuver around them, you hold your breath, and you solve Resident Evil-esque puzzles.
That's fairly true. They do introduce a few different enemies along the way, such as the uncle, who's like basically like a nemesis or a Mr. X kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't have to listen for you. He just comes right at you the entire time. Wow, Kale's getting undressed next to me.
It's getting pretty hot in this room. I had to take off my hoodie.
And then you have the dad who he will play a piano, and then you can only move while he's playing the piano, and then you have to stop and hold your breath while he's walking around. So there's a couple different mechanics.
That's true. I'm glad you brought up that point where you have to hold your breath and move around, because like you can't really defend yourself in the base game. It's like Outlast where
you do get the ability to
defend
yourself.
You
get the little hypersonic device. You don't get it for very long. You get it for about a quarter of the game.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
To tell you the truth, I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually kind of forgot about it because I used it so little.
I used it for literally only emergencies, and I honestly wish I used it more. And I was saving it because I thought maybe you could use it for like a boss fight, only to find out you cannot use it on the boss fights.
Yeah.
And that's such a fucking bummer, man. I'm just like, come on.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I think this game has a lot in common with Resident Evil 7. I got a lot of vibes from that.
Yeah.
I think the way the game is laid out, I literally, the thought came to my mind, this is a Resident Evil Light, right? There's a lot of the puzzles, which some are a little bit more convoluted. I do want to like talk about some of the puzzles that kind of hung me up and frustrated me a little bit. But when you're going around, you have to really be like super alert all the time, because you could theoretically open a door and a person's right there.
Yes.
And they're gonna like come after you.
Yes.
So I got into the habit of like, I'd open a door, hold my breath, and then walk around the corner, because if there was a guy right there, at least I could like, inch around them. But I will say that after about the first quarter of the game, other than the two boss fights, well, actually just one of the boss fights was scary, but I wasn't really scared anymore.
Yeah.
Once I figured the mechanics out, the enemies became very easy to avoid.
And see, I think that's what kind of like kept me from loving this game, because when I finally understood like the enemy's walking pattern and realizing that you can get really close to them so long as you hold your breath, there's no reason to be scared about it.
Yeah.
At the most, it's annoying because just like Resident Evil-esque puzzles, there's also a Resident Evil-esque save mechanic to where there's these safe rooms, and you have to save on a phonograph
Yep.
instead of a typewriter, which is actually really cool, because whenever you come across a new phonograph, it plays and kind of gives you a little bit of story with it.
Though I will say, I think the choice of using a phonograph was a weird choice because these are sound-based enemies.
Yeah.
And so when I first used one of them, I'm like, oh God, are they going to come in this room with me? That was my first thought. And then same thing with so one of the quest givers in this game is Elizabeth, right? And so she calls you on a phone
I was
inside the
wondering
hotel.
that too.
But yet somehow the enemies are not attracted to that phone.
I was wondering, because especially in, I want to say, in one of the later levels in the upper floor, when there's a phone going off right in the path of two enemies that wander around where you're supposed to put those pieces together.
Yes.
And like, why are they not seeing this? Like, if you want this to work, then and make sense with the rules of the game, put it in the safe room. Okay. That's all you need. Just put it in the safe room.
Yeah, or make it in an area where there are clearly not enemies anywhere nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I think that kind of shocked me was you can go into areas that were once like safe areas, no enemies were in those areas, and you come back later and there's a ton of enemies in that area.
Yes.
And so that part was weird to me. But one thing I do want to call out is the visuals in this game. So I'm down the middle on how I feel about it. I played the game. There are two settings. There's fidelity and performance. I put it on fidelity because I wanted to see how good the game could look. And so overall, the game looks pretty good. Like the visuals are pretty nice to this game. But there's this weird motion blur that's like way too much. It's like they give you as much motion blur as if you're driving in a racing game. And you're a walking pace, and it's like whoosh, 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 all the motion. It's way too much.
Which I later found out you can turn that off.
I looked through the settings, I couldn't figure it out.
The menu is weird because so you look at the graphic settings, it shows you like performance and fidelity, brightness and gamma. There's no indication that you can scroll down. If you scroll down a couple, like a little bit, it'll show motion blur. And
man, I wish I had seen that because I was getting a little bit of a headache when I first started playing.
Yeah. An issue I had as well is like I feel like the game, like for one, the game is pretty open world. You can go back to previous areas, and I found this out because I missed one of the cylinders in the garden.
I did too.
Oh, you did too?
I didn't miss the one in the garden, but I missed the one in the cathedral.
Yeah. And so which one is nice, but it's kind of funny because you're supposed to get these cylinders. You think that you would stumble upon the first cylinder naturally to kind of give you an idea how it works, because that's kind of how it is with the sheet music that you find. That you stumble upon it naturally because it's indicated, for one, with a question mark on your map. It doesn't really give you the cylinders like clearly on the map until you find that room with the projector saying where they're at.
Yeah.
I think better game design was you should stumble upon the first one to give you an idea, and then you can open up the world in order to find something.
Yeah, it doesn't really explain a lot of the mechanics in a very intuitive way. That's one thing that I really noticed about it. And I think to truly be able to like sit back and focus on the puzzles and maybe get all this stuff, you would want to play it in its enemy-less mode that you can choose at the beginning, which I do kind of want to try that at some point. There's a mode that you can select that removes all enemies from the game, but allows you to still do all the puzzles and still experience this creepy atmosphere. And I kind of wonder how that plays out, because some of the key parts of the game, such as the, Mr. X style boss, like how do they play that out without having an enemy? And or the final sort of boss character of was a father who's playing the piano. How do they play that out without having an enemy?
Yeah.
So I'd be curious about that. But I don't know. It's weird how the game sort of feels like it is either one of those games where you can kind of achieve all the objectives in whatever order you want, but it also feels very linear. Is that weird?
Yeah, it is pretty weird.
That
makes sense.
I wasn't sure if I could make my own decisions until I got to the very end of the game, and I heard Elizabeth like calling for me in the main area. But I looked at my inventory and I'm missing one of the cylinders. And one of the areas I hadn't really been to was the cathedral. And so I found the cylinder there, and then I found the last piece of sheet music I needed in there too. So I was like, oh shit. So I got everything at the end, and I like brought it back, and you can get a good or a bad end in this game. I don't want to spoil which action triggers that, but did you get the good or the bad end?
I got the good.
I got the good as well.
Yeah.
But it definitely sets you up where it would be very easy to get the bad ending.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
And so that part was really kind of weird to me, how you could very easily make the wrong choice in this game.
Yeah. But, like, I wonder if it was easier. Did you read most of the notes you picked up?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Because I was wondering if reading those notes would have helped you make that decision, but...
I want to talk about the puzzle that got me the most like frustrated, and I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do.
Okay.
So do you remember the puzzle where you had to ring the bells in a certain order?
With the ship?
Yes. To get the piece out of the ship?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That one made me so angry, and I think there was I ended up having to look up a walkthrough to do it, and the walkthrough did not help, and I will tell you, Neoseeker, fix your fucking article. Because Neoseeker's article, I was trying to figure out how to do this puzzle. I was like, where the fuck are the bells that I'm supposed to be? Or no, I said, where the fuck am I supposed to go? And I read Neoseeker's article, and they're like, oh, yeah, you got to find these bells and ring them in a specific order. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's like, you go back to the main area where there was a bathroom with a busted open wall, and it said, in there you'll find a room with the bells. And so I went back to that area 4 or 5 different times, and it's not there. What they don't tell you is disregard that area, go back to the main area, go left, go down a hall, into a room, all the way down a hall and around a corner, and boom, there is the motherfucker that you need. That pissed me off. I was mad at the article for like telling me wrong, because if I'm at the point of desperation where I'm like looking at a walkthrough to figure out how to freaking do this puzzle, like giving me wrong information is going to make me more angry. And I was just like,
yeah.
Grr!
For me, it was the beer tap one that I was confused.
Really?
Because it was still early in the game, and I was still a little bit stressed out about how the game worked. And I picked up this beer tap. I'm like, well, what the fuck do I need this beer tap for? I totally forgot about the kitchen or the kitchen area, and I was like, okay, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that doesn't work. I didn't realize that across the way was the pictures that correlate to what was on the beer tap.
Yeah. There's a few things that I do want to call out on this game. So some of the puzzles aren't particularly clear how you're supposed to solve them. That part was confusing, but I can let that bit slide. It's very Resident Evil-esque in how some of the puzzles are kind of challenging, and they don't really hold your hand on that. That's fine. What I didn't really like was at the very end of the game, after you essentially have the first climax of the game, I want to say, after you defeat the father, you are forced to weave your way back through the house and go all the way to the opposite side of the hotel. And that part was so annoying to me. I don't know. Was it annoying to you too?
Yeah.
Having to walk all the way back. And you had to go a very specific path because they blocked off like 90% of your ways to move. That was so annoying. And the other thing I really wanted to call out was, did you feel, before you saw what the creature is that was being held captive, did this give you like Cthulhu vibes a little bit?
Not really. I got more like, are you talking about like the white wispy part, or?
I'm talking about more just the like concept in general, this cult that has found this creature at sea and is worshiping it now.
you know what? Now you brought it up, that makes far more sense because, in hindsight, I should have probably talked about the context after we talked about the main game. But I tried to find any kind of cults in Wales, but there was nothing. So I just thought, okay, they made up a cult for this game. I never made a Call of Cthulhu connection. That totally makes sense.
That's what I was feeling, and I was really shocked when should we say what the enemy was, or should we leave that for?
Well, spoilers, because I'm interested in.
We're pretty far into this at this point, so we've said basically our piece. There's not much more we're going to say after this about this game.
I gave you history of the game at the beginning, you know, or at least the context and the inspiration behind the game.
Yeah. So the final enemy seems like it's a harpy. Does it not seem like a harpy?
It does, especially, but which was a little bit disappointing because, yeah, I understand harpies sing, but there's a reference. You find a note where someone copied a page from Homer's Odyssey about sirens.
Yes, and sirens are typically portrayed as almost like a mermaid-like thing, right?
Yeah,
like aquatic at least, an aquatic-based,
yes.
semi-humanoid looking thing. Whereas like a harpy is in the sky. How did they find this at sea?
I don't know, really, and I was really kind of
how did they catch it?
yeah, of course, but that's what confused me definitely. One thing that is nice about this game, though, the music is really good.
Yeah, the music is really good. I like the atmosphere a lot in this game, too.
Yes.
I like that you get to pet a dog and you get to save a dog.
Oh god, that broke my heart. And
what?
Let's just the dog being hurt.
Oh, when he gets caught in the bear trap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me really sad.
You freed him, right?
Oh, of course I did.
Yeah. I didn't think you were going to be a monster, but yeah, and he comes back to like save you at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nice. I thought he got killed in that scene, and I was like, oh, and I'm like, you know, like escaping the area, but also like, oh no, he's been, he's been injured. But yeah, I overall enjoyed the game.
I thought it was it was a good enough experience for me. Oh, one thing, this game did have an update. We talked about this last night. They updated the game. They patched in challenge modes to where you start at the attic where you meet Elizabeth, and then you work your way down to escape the hotel, and you're given weapons.
Okay.
You're given a shotgun, a revolver, an axe, and a rifle. And you have to maneuver your way. You can either sneak by or kill these enemies. And they also added an additional enemy, one that can see you. And he's like in a diver mask.
Oh.
And if he sees you, he alerts the enemies in the area. And they take actually a lot of damage.
I totally must have missed this one.
Yeah.
What section was it under? Oh, I guess it was
was
a
under
section called challenges.
Yeah. And
I assumed that was like a way to look at the like challenges in the game you completed.
No, like they're its own like modes, and like there's ones that are like normal, then hard, very hard. All of them are have the same objective mostly. The difference is that the amount of ammo that you find throughout. So obviously the harder difficulty is there'll be less ammo, so you have to do more sneaking around and only use them in emergencies. Whereas normal mode, there is ammo is plentiful, and you can just play it like a shooter if you want. With the caveat that you only die 3 times.
You know, that actually adds a lot more replayability to this game.
And I played one of the challenges last night, and it's actually a lot of fun. I actually think this game personally would have fared better if it was more Resident Evil-esque in the sense where you can shoot back if you want.
Yeah.
Because you have that risk-reward thing to where, don't get me wrong, that phonetic device is nice, but when you're playing in a game with sound-based enemies and you have a gun, you can kill the enemy.
You're going to alert the others.
But you alert the others. And so I think this game would have been, as I said, this game would have been better with that risk-reward.
Yeah.
So I had a lot more fun playing the challenge mode than I did the actual game.
Man.
Nothing wrong with the actual game itself. The actual game is fine. But I had a lot more fun with the challenge modes.
Might be one that I have to revisit. I think there's two things I would want to try: the challenge mode and then the story version without enemies. I want to try both to see how they are. I kind of wonder if the story-based one is a lot more like I mentioned to you, like Layers of Fear, because you can't. There's no enemies in Layers of Fear per se.
No, just scary experiences.
Yeah, and I wonder if like they substitute out enemies with scary experiences, because they'd have to put something in its place, right?
Yeah.
And so that's cool. What would you give this game?
I thought about it today, and I don't want to rate it a 5 because I do think it's an above average game. So I'm gonna give it about a 6.5. I enjoyed it enough, but I don't know how much it is. I probably wouldn't pay $30 for it.
I think it hits around 30 normally.
So, personally, I wouldn't. And that's probably mostly my bias. Like, I ended up liking this game more than I thought I would, but I'm generally not much of a survival horror person. I'm more of like Layers of Fear, action horror type of guy. So and that's why even though I want to play like Alien Isolation, I'm hesitant to, because that's more survival horror, and that's why I don't really like playing Outlast, because it's more survival horror.
Yeah, there's a lot more punishment for getting caught in those games, I think. You're almost insta dead if you're caught in those games. In this game, if you get caught, you're not really
right.
You can get away, and you know how I mentioned you can kind of avoid them. But if I had to give this game a review, or a review score, I mulled it over for a while, and I was between like a 6.5 and a 7. And I was sitting there back and forth, because there's like, this game has a very unique story. I don't think I've ever had a story like this one. However, the mechanics of the game are fairly similar to other games, such as, Resident Evil 7 and things like that. So it's like, they're doing some unique things, and they're copying some things, from others that other games do a little bit better, And so I think I land somewhere around the 6.5, if you have to ask me.
Okay.
Maybe if I played the challenge mode and I enjoyed it, I might pop it up to like a 7. Or if the story mode had a lot of like cool shit in it, maybe it could be, a higher number. But I think probably around a 6.5 is where I'd give it. I think it is worth the price, though. That's where I differ, I think. I think it is worth $30.
Okay. That's fair. For me, I found research in the game and the folklore a lot more interesting.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of replayability to it, which you can't say for a lot of our short games that we play.
Yeah, with the challenge modes, it does add replayability to it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a bit short of an episode, but next week, however, we're rounding out spooky season with the Ghostwire Tokyo. So we're going into more Japanese horror now.
Ooh-wee. That one actually seems really scary from what I've seen.
I've played a little bit of it, and the monster designs are super cool. From what I've seen, they are based on actual like Japanese spirits. So
Yokai.
Huh?
Yokai.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that there are spirits for people who like spent their whole life working at a company and they die. They valued their work over everything else. And so there's these spirits that walk around in black suits and a suitcase.
That might be more of like a modern folklore
Maybe. Like I should probably do some research on that as well, because like playing Maid of Sker and doing research of the folklore really made me interested in how some of these games are inspired.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
But I'm excited to play this game, and I have really nothing else to say, man. It's Friday, my brain's dead.
Is it like cooking like an egg?
It's like cooking an egg, but the stove isn't on.
Oh, it's just a raw egg then.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. Again, I'm hoping therapy will help with that, man.
It's a little bit of a tangent, but I want to say that like the longer I guess the older I get, the more I kind of question to myself whether I have some of these like ADHD traits, because I see a lot of people posting on social media some of the stuff that they struggle with, with their mental health and things like that, and it's very resonant with me. Like, I have a hard time focusing on things, but I get hyper fixated on shit that I shouldn't. Like, oh, one day I'll wake up and, there's a lot of stuff I should be doing, but instead, I really want to organize this shelf really good, or I want to pick up and organize and decorate this room a little bit, but I know I should be doing other things. So it's like, yeah, I question if, maybe I should, talk to a therapist as well, as you were saying at the beginning, and kind of try to figure out,
especially if your work pays for it, or work's insurance pays for it. I mean,
yeah.
Someone I know in my life, their wife does therapy, and they pay $40 a session.
That's not too bad.
That's not bad at all. And this is a call out for anybody. Like, if by some chance, like, your work has insurance that covers mental health, by all means do it. And for those people that don't have that privilege, just try to talk to someone. It doesn't need to be a therapist.
Yeah.
It's that I don't want to get too political on this show, but that's one thing that I wish was accessible, because mental health is such an important thing, and it sucks that it's $100 to $200 a session.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who could really use it, and I'm talking all the way from, people who work a dead-end job that, like, burns them out, it makes them frustrated, makes them really tired, or hell, even people who work at, like, a corporate job, sitting in an office that's mentally exhausting. It drains you mentally. It's all different kinds of people across the spectrum who could really use some help. And I know for a fact, I'll be completely transparent, I struggle with reaching out for help on things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's a place of, like, subconscious pride. I don't know if it's, maybe I don't think it'll help and it'll be a waste of my time. Maybe, I don't know, I want to try to fix myself on my own. Maybe it's like a stubborn thing of, like, oh, I can do this. I know I can do this. And so I know I struggle to get help, and that's an on me thing, right? So I just need to overcome that. That's part of improving myself, is I need to overcome that and ask for help when I need it.
Maybe you can make that a New Year's resolution. Just dip your toe into some kind of therapy. You don't need to see it or you don't need to go to a person. You could do it all virtual if sitting in an office makes you uncomfortable, especially if your work has employee assistant programs. My work allows me 3 in-person sessions a year.
Yeah. And
unlimited virtual. So,
it's part of it is like how much time you got kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and see that's what sucks with a 9 to 5, is that because that's when most clinics are open.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate with the one I'm looking at. They're open on Saturdays.
Side tangent, by the way, but places like therapists, doctors, dentists, anything that everybody needs that is a service to help our health, why are you open only during the hours that most people are at work?
Yeah, for real.
Like, what the hell, man? You need to open some clinics and stuff that are open after 5 o'clock, after 6 o'clock.
Yeah, for real.
That's our new invention. Let's go and open one of those. We'll hire a bunch of people in.
I have nothing. I had something and I lost it. But I'm
so sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. But I think that's enough tangents for tonight. And personally, I think this is my brain is already a bit of a jumbled mess already, as you could probably tell from the beginning of this episode. But aside from all that, with all that being said, if you like the show, like and subscribe and follow us. Or if you don't like the show, tell your friends. Maybe they'll like it. We also have a merch store, which we'll link in the description. And that'll pretty much about do it. Do you have anything else, Connor?
No, I think that about sums it up.
All right, guys, and we'll see you next time.